aging itself is not just about time, it's driven by physiological processes such as chronic inflammation, mitochondrial decline, muscle loss, connective tissue breakdown, nutrient depletion, and then hormonal shifts ultimately. And if we can support those systems properly, we can dramatically improve how the body ages.
Welcome to Health Decoded, your number one source for real health information, with your hosts, Dr. Alessi and Matt Tack.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Health Decoded. I'm your host, Dr. Alessi, and today we are talking about something that a lot of people ask about, but very few people truly understand, and I think is just so overlooked, and that is the topic of supplements or supplementation. And, more specifically, what supplements actually matter when it comes to aging well. That's going to be the topic for today. Because let's be honest, if you walk into a supplement store, pharmacy, or you're scrolling online, you'll see thousands of products claiming to improve your health, your energy, your metabolism, your longevity. But most of them fall into one of two categories. Either they're unnecessary or they're poorly formulated. And that creates a lot of confusion for people. The goal of today's episode is not to overwhelm you with a giant list of pills or things you need to take. The goal is to focus on 7 foundational supplements that support the biological systems responsible for healthy aging. Because aging itself is not just about time, it's driven by physiological processes such as chronic inflammation, mitochondrial decline, muscle loss, connective tissue breakdown, nutrient depletion, and then hormonal shifts ultimately. And if we can support those systems properly, we can dramatically improve how the body ages. Now, I want to be clear about something up front. Supplements are not magic. They don't replace your sleep. They don't replace movement. They don't even replace nutrition. But when used strategically, they can support the body's ability to repair, adapt, and remain resilient over time. So today we're going to walk through 7 supplements that almost every adult should consider when their goal is long-term health and longevity. And these are not in any rank or order of importance. I'm just going to go through this list. And so let's start off with number 1. And this is one of the most important, just happens to fall at number 1. And this is omega-3 fatty acids. So the first supplement is omega-3 fatty acids, which are essential fats, meaning your body cannot produce them on its own. The 2 most important forms are EPA and DHA. These fatty acids are primarily found in fatty fish like salmon, sardines, and mackerel, but the problem is that most people simply don't eat enough of those foods. At the same time, modern diets tend to be extremely high in what are called omega-6 fats, which come from processed foods and seed oils. And this imbalance in omega-3 to omega-6 actually drives inflammation, whereas the omega-3s help to counteract that inflammation. Now, let's talk about why that matters for aging, okay? So omega-3 fatty acids play a role by regulating inflammatory signaling, helping maintain the cell membrane flexibility. The membranes of your cells are created in these phospholipid bilayers that are actually made of fatty acids. And so if we don't have a sufficient amount, those can start to break down and become weaker over time and more rigid, if you will. They also work to support cardiovascular health, they protect brain function, and they improve metabolic regulation. For example, your brain is nearly 60% fat. I'm sure you've heard that, and that's why it's so important for young people and children, but also older people to maintain a level of fatty acid content in their blood. DHA is one of the most important structural fats in your neuronal membranes. Research studies, they show that low omega-3 levels are associated with an increased risk of cardiovascular disease, cognitive decline, depression, and chronic inflammation. And so in functional medicine, we always measure something called the omega-3 index, which tells us how much EPA and DHA are actually incorporated into your red blood cells. And so, people always ask, how much should someone take? Because optimal levels can vary. And, to have that lowering risk of disease, what does it look like? And so for most adults, the standard is going to be somewhere around 2 to 4 grams per day of combined EPA and DHA. Higher doses are often used therapeutically when inflammation or triglycerides are elevated, sometimes twice that amount. But that's not for a long term. That's more so for a short term acute approach. Long term, again, 2 to 4 grams can be ideal. And this is something that realistically it's ideal to test rather than just guess and take, willy-nilly. And so knowing what your levels are, what you need to supplement to support those levels, and then go from there. Hey, busy professionals and parents, let me ask you something. Do you need help with your low energy, stubborn weight, brain fog, gut issues, or hormones, but you don't know where to start? Well, you're not alone. And the biggest problem is that modern healthcare is designed to diagnose disease, but often misses the dysfunction that begins years earlier as under the surface symptoms. That's exactly why I created the Functional Medicine Starter System. This is a structured, physician-led process designed to uncover what is actually driving your symptoms, whether it's rooted in gut health, metabolic function, inflammation, nutrient status, or hormonal imbalance. No guessing, no generic protocols, just real data and a clear plan. So if you're tired of searching for answers, but you're not sure how to begin solving your health issues, go to the link in the podcast show notes to learn more about the Functional Medicine Starter System. Because once you have clarity, you can finally start to feel like yourself again. Now, let's get back to the episode. Now, supplement number 2, and this pairs perfectly with omega-3s, is actually vitamin D3 plus K2, and I'll get to that in a minute. So vitamin D is often called a vitamin, but physiologically, it actually behaves more like a hormone. We've spoken on this in the past in episodes about how it is actually essential for the expression of over thousands of genes in the human body. And so when we're deficient in vitamin D, our body is operating at a suboptimal level. Because vitamin D strongly influences your immune system, your bone metabolism, hormone production, inflammation control, strength, and your mood. Yet vitamin D deficiency is one of the most common things we see because modern lifestyle is limiting sun exposure. How much sunscreen can we put on? Wearing long sleeves when we're outside. People have grown to be fearful of getting adequate sunlight. Now, there's a fine line there. You don't want to go sit outside with no cover or anything on you for hours at a time. You can get sunburn, which can then lead to its own issues. However, go outside and get some non-protected sun exposure for 30 to 40 minutes on a daily basis is going to be beneficial for your body. And so the reason it's beneficial is because low vitamin D levels are directly linked to autoimmune disease, things like osteoporosis, body's not having enough bone mineral density, cardiovascular disease, mood disorders like depression, as well as metabolic dysfunction. Now, I spoke on K2. Here's where vitamin K2 comes in, and you often see nowadays the D3 paired with the K2 because vitamin K2 helps direct calcium into the bones and teeth rather than into your arteries. And so without K2, calcium can accumulate in blood vessels and can contribute to vascular calcification or hardening of the arteries. So the combination of D3 plus K2 will support bone health, cardiovascular health, and immune health. For most adults, a typical dose of vitamin D3 would be about 2,000 to 5,000 IUs or international units daily, paired with vitamin K2 around 90 to 200 micrograms daily. Now, when you are sick, maybe you're going through a stressful time or more recovery is necessary, you can bump that up. Oftentimes, we will triple or quadruple that dosage on an acute phase for patients when we're working through something like healing the gut or healing some autoimmune condition. We're going to bump that up. However, testing the blood should tell you, right? So monitoring through blood testing, we'll find that a healthy range is typically somewhere between 50 to 70 nanograms per milliliter. That's where a functional healthy range would be. Now, supplement number 3, magnesium. Magnesium is awesome. This is one of the most underrated nutrients in modern health. Magnesium is responsible for participating in over 300 biochemical reactions in your body. It's involved in muscle contraction and relaxation, nerve signaling, blood sugar regulation, blood pressure control, energy production, and sleep. Yet many adults are deficient. And why is this happening? Because magnesium levels are often affected by stress, consumption of caffeine and alcohol, processed foods, and the fact that our agricultural system is depleted of nutrition. When you have low magnesium levels, people often find they have poor sleep. They get kind of crampy and headaches, anxiety. These things can kind of build up, as well as insulin resistance. This is a big piece when it comes to resetting someone who has like a metabolic syndrome. Magnesium essentially acts as a nervous system stabilizer. It's going to help calm the body's stress response and help the body to manage and adequately do what it needs to do with that stress response. Because stress is not always a bad thing. We use things like exercise as a positive stress. Breath work can be a positive stress. Sometimes stress is good in general for our body to adapt and grow. However, it's important to regulate chronic versus acute stress. Now, there's different forms of magnesium, and this is one that I get asked all the time. And so some of the main ones we're going to use are like magnesium glycinate. This one is more optimized for that stress reduction, magnesium malate, and then magnesium threonate is great for brain support. Oftentimes, I recommend just kind of a broad spectrum magnesium that has a few of the different forms in it so people can get those different forms of magnesium for those usages. Typical dosing is going to range somewhere from 300 to 400 milligrams daily. Many people will take it in the evening because it's going to help improve sleep quality. And sometimes in an acute situation of, say, constipation or gut distress, people will use it for that, like a magnesium citrate to help expedite and increase motility in the stool. Now, the next supplement, and this is one that is probably going to surprise a lot of people because they think of it as like the bodybuilder or the athlete supplement. It's creatine. But the reality is that creatine is one of the most researched supplements in all of science. And creatine does this major important function within the body, which is to help produce ATP. ATP is adenosine triphosphate, which is your primary energy currency of your cells. Without ATP, we don't live. It is especially important for tissues with a high energy demand, like muscles and the brain. These are both high energy utilizing systems in your body. As we age, naturally, people are going to lose muscle, and the process is called sarcopenia. I would push back on that this is not a natural thing if we maintain a level of activity. The body shouldn't just start losing muscle. It does decline over time because of that. However, it shouldn't be to the extent of what we see. And what we find is sarcopenia is a major predictor of things like frailty. People who fall have a major injury from just a fall and then, lose quality of life from that. Metabolic disease is a major thing when people have sarcopenia, as well as that loss of independence later in life, unable to walk on their own, do things on their own. And so creatine comes in because it can help support muscle strength, power output, exercise performance, recovery, and brain energy. And so there's a lot of emerging research suggesting the benefits for cognitive health and neuroprotection as well. Now, the standard dose for creatine is going to be somewhere between 3 to 5 grams daily of creatine monohydrate. Some people can get away with doing more. For example, myself, I take 5 grams daily. However, on days where I'm going to be training really hard, I might take 5 or 10 grams in the morning and then another 5 or 10 after. Or days where I've had a really heavy, mentally stressful day. I've done a lot of patient notes, patient appointments, and my brain feels fried out. I'm going to take a little bit extra that day, maybe 10 or 15 grams. They've shown some really cool research on post-concussion, people taking creatine to help boost the brain's energy back up for healing. It's amazing. And so you don't need to load it. That's the old school methodology where people would load creatine, 20, 30 grams a day for a week and then, really build up saturation in the body. It's been shown to be unnecessary. You can just take the standard dose. And despite the outdated myths, creatine has actually been shown to be extremely safe in healthy individuals. So always consult with a doctor or functional medicine doctor if you've had anything like kidney issues or gut issues, making sure creatine's okay to take. However, it has been shown to be extremely safe. And let me just make a quick side note to all of this, that don't ever just start taking something because you heard it on a podcast, because I said it, because someone else told you to. Do your homework. Test your blood, find out what your body actually needs, and make educated decisions. You should be autonomous, and you should be an advocate for yourself with your health. Now, getting back to the show here, supplement number 5 on the list that I have is prebiotic and probiotic support. So moving into the gut, your microbiome is an ecosystem. It's home to trillions of bacteria. These microbes are going to influence a lot of functions in the body, such as your immune system, inflammation, how well your body absorbs nutrients and nutrition, as well as hormone metabolism. That's also responsible for production of neurotransmitters, which are cellular signals that go to the brain to control mood, appetite, energy, a lot of other things. And so about 90% of serotonin, which is a neurotransmitter, is produced in your gut. And so when the microbiome becomes imbalanced, it can contribute to mood disorders, metabolic disorders, autoimmune, digestive problems. It's really a whole host of things. We find that the gut is at the base of most chronic issues. And so probiotics are going to provide beneficial bacteria to rebuild that ecosystem. And the prebiotics are the fiber that feed those bacteria. Together, they're going to help maintain balance, because you want an adequate number of specific strains of bacteria. It can get pretty complex at times. So a typical probiotic that someone might take is going to be anywhere from 10 to 15 billion CFUs, which is colony forming units. And so again, this is very dependent on the person. If someone is dealing with things like bloating, SIBO, dysbiosis, a probiotic is not often the best step. Now, somebody who has a healthy gut, has maybe healed their gut, or is just wanting general wellness, they know they don't have any of those issues, something like a 50 billion CFU probiotic is going to do them a lot of benefits. And prebiotic fibers such as inulin, resistant starches, they support the growth of the probiotics. So again, the gut, however, is very highly individualized, and some people will actually feel worse with certain probiotics. This means that there's something wrong with their gut. There's some imbalance that then is triggering symptoms, which is where advanced gut testing, such as like our gut zoomer test that we run, is very valuable. And so if that's something that you think you may have or you've dealt with, I tried a probiotic and it actually made me feel worse, even though my friends told me to take it, that requires more insight and data and actually, testing. So that's something that we help a lot of our patients with. Now, supplement number 6, this is an awesome one. And again, one that's maybe a bit more nuanced, but essential amino acids. And I put this on the list because essential amino acids are just that. They are essential. They are proteins, basically are pieces of protein. The next supplement that we're going to get into is essential amino acids. Now, this one is a bit more nuanced, but essential amino acids are exactly that. They are essential for the body. So what are they? Basically, proteins are made of amino acids, and there are 9 essential amino acids that the body cannot produce on its own. These must come from either your diet or supplementation. Now, amino acids are very much important and responsible for muscle repair, your immune system, hormone production, and neurotransmitter synthesis. However, one of the biggest challenges in aging is declining muscle protein synthesis. And this isn't just loss of muscle. This is the body's ability to utilize protein to create muscle. And so even if someone's eating enough protein, their body becomes less efficient at utilizing it. This is where essential amino acid supplementation can help, because it's going to stimulate muscle protein synthesis, especially when paired with resistance training. It does the work of giving you the raw ingredients of the amino acids without your body having to break down the protein first. And so a typical dosing for someone could be about 5 to 10 grams per day. I prefer during or around workouts and between meals to help provide that anabolic stimulus while, we don't have food or nutrition coming in. Now, the final one on the list, and this is something I will take forever. I love this supplement. This is collagen. And so collagen is the most abundant protein in the human body. It provides structural integrity for your joints, tendons, ligaments, skin, connective tissue. Unfortunately, what we see is that collagen production begins to decline as early as our late 20s, which then contributes to joint degeneration and tendon injuries, skin aging, and cartilage breakdown. And so supplementing with collagen can provide the specific amino acids like glycine and proline, which are going to support connective tissue repair. Now, that's where people see that collagen can help improve that joint comfort. It's going to make the skin more elastic and the tendons are going to have more resilience. A typical dose of collagen is probably going to be somewhere from 10 to 20 grams per day. It's one of those things that it's tough to overdo. You could do twice that amount and be okay. And collagen synthesis is often enhanced, and this is something I do, is paired with vitamin C. That's going to help with the production of collagen. Vitamin C is very important for that. And so, again, in closing here, these were 7 supplements that I believe, and this is just my opinion, take that or leave it, but that are very important, if not essential, for healthy aging and aging well, giving your body the support it needs as things tend to naturally decline with aging. Now, remember, not all supplements are created equal, okay? Quality is very important. Bioavailability is even more important, and purity. But more important than any of that is that not every body is the same. You are not the same as your spouse, as your brother, as your sister. And so the future of medicine is moving toward a more personalized nutrition and what we call nutrigenetic type of approach, where we're able to test someone's genetic influence on how their body processes vitamins, minerals, fatty acids, detox, and inflammation, which means it works perfectly because one person might not be the same as the other, and so they require a different approach and different dosages and amounts and types of vitamins and minerals. And this is where testing and personalization are really becoming the foundation of modern functional medicine. The goal is not just take supplements and try to cover all your bases. That's 1990s, 2000s stuff. The goal now is to support your physiology intelligently without taking a bunch of things that aren't helping you. And so, in closing here, if we zoom out, the 7 supplements we talked about today, right? The omega-3 fatty acids, vitamin D3 with the K2, magnesium, creatine, pre and probiotics for the gut, as well as essential amino acids and collagen. These are going to help support inflammation control, muscle preservation, mitochondrial energy, connective tissue health, gut balance, and cognitive resilience. Because healthy aging isn't just something that happens. It's not just, oh, that guy happened to age well and this one didn't. It's the result of supporting your body and consistently over time. And it starts now. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. What's the second best time? It's right now. And so to learn more about how we personalize nutrition, especially using our NutriPro genetic test, go to alessifunctionalhealth.com. You can schedule a consultation with me or one of my other providers, and we can create a personalized plan for lifelong health. Listeners of this podcast, make sure you mention us because you're always going to get exclusive discounts and price reductions on all protocols, tests, and just be sure to mention that you heard about us on the show. As always, I'm going to ask you a favor. If you found value in today's show, please like the show. Please follow us, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Everybody has a friend who has something they're struggling with and doesn't take action on. So if we can help grow this message, we can help change more people's lives. Now, if you want to get in touch with us or if you want to be featured on an episode, we just did a Q&A last week. Email us your questions to ask@alessifxhealth.com. You can also visit alessifunctionalhealth.com, sign up for our newsletter, and make sure you check out our resources page to learn more about our approach to nutrition and cutting-edge therapies. I want to thank you again for tuning in to Health Decoded. I'm Dr. Alessi, and I'll see you on the next one.
Thank you for tuning in to Health Decoded, where we break down the truth about all things health and empower you to take charge of your well-being. If you found value in today's episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who needs to hear this. For more resources and personalized support, visit us at alessifunctionalhealth.com and sign up for our newsletter. To hear your questions answered live on the show, send them to ask@alessifxhealth.com. That's ask at ALESSIFXhealth.com. Until next time, stay curious, stay empowered, and remember, your health is in your hands.